Paulogia, and another edition of Ham and Egg News. There's a lot to cover today, not the least of which is the new Answers News set on the stage of Legacy Hall in the Creation Museum, now recorded in multi-camera setup in front of a live audience. The production side of me is very intrigued, considering they literally shot the last Answers News episode in a men's restroom.
Part of it, and that's what happens when you do things live.
You know, you'd think here in this fancy studio we're sitting in, they'd lock the doors, but it's actually the men's room that somebody just came.
I want you to understand,
it's true.
We're set up, there's a men's room here, and there are two ways to get out.
This is a big step up.
All right, well, welcome to Answers News.
Hey, this is our first time in Legacy Hall.
First time here with the new set.
The first 2 minutes, because it takes a while for people to get their notifications and to get online, for the first 2 minutes we just talk about nothing. So let me tell you what I was doing today. I was down the Ark, and we would actually film a video promo.
Are you ready to see the video promo that Ken posted? I assure you, you are not. I promise I am not making this up. Ken Ham posted this. This is real.
This is Donald Trump here, the President of the United States of America. Now, last year, two great things happened. I became the president, and it was also the launch of Ark Encounter. Believe me, you have to see this Ark. It's huge. I mean, whoever built this Ark, I need to get them to build a wall for me because they did a really great job. Almost as good as in the Bible when Jonah built it. Noah, sorry. That's right. Noah's a great guy. I love the Bible. I really do. The Bible's a great book. Nehemiah is one of my favorite passages. He was a great character because he built a giant wall all around Jerusalem. So make sure you go to the Ark Encounter. Believe me, it's larger than life.
I'm gonna see if our studio audience can guess where Bodie went to lunch for, and what he considers is good, wholesome food. See if you can guess where he went to lunch. How did you get your photograph taken there?
Hey, you know what? It's not every day you walk into McDonald's. There's an actual Ronald McDonald right there saying hi to people.
There he was.
Forget Bodie here. What happened to Ronald McDonald? This is what Ronald looked like when I was a kid. This is like a young Elvis, old Elvis situation, right? Burger King dropped their creepy mascot. Maybe it's time to ditch yours too, McDonald's. Kids don't associate clowns with fun anymore.
The first item is, guess what? Bill Nye has a new book out.
We don't usually get Playboy
Wait a minute.
delivered, but and I'm looking at the Bill Nye article, which we'll share with you.
And it's called Everything All at Once.
Your book, Everything All at Once.
Yes, there's 20 in a carton. They make great gifts.
Guess who's featured in here? Answers in Genesis and the Ark. Bill Nye accused me when I was walking through the Ark, and also after the debate here, that we denied climate change. And I said, we don't deny climate change. Climate change happens. Climate this week's different than it was last week anyway. Here's what Bill Nye says. He says, if you don't believe that it's humans that are causing climate change, then you're a climate change denier.
What is a statistic regarding climate change that would blow our mind, something that you know that maybe the rest of us aren't privy to?
When I was young, there were 300 parts per million of carbon dioxide in the air. Now there's over 400. Well, that's only 0.01% increase. Just a second. That's a 30% increase in 3 decades. That's huge. So anyway, humans are doing this, you guys. We got to make changes.
Actually, he's got to remember something. God's not going to let man destroy this earth because God's in control of that.
Yeah.
He's going to judge it with fire. Yeah. He's in total control. We shouldn't be worried about what man is going to do.
And that's all you need to know about the Christian view of any environmental issue. No matter what we do, Jesus is coming back to fix it. So why not treat this place like garbage?
We can't let the earth have dominion over man. And that's what a lot of these evolutionists, secularists do today.
We can't let the earth have dominion over man. Huh.
He actually says in here that the Ark facility attracts tourists and that we got virtually free real estate from Kentucky and the taxpayers. So the Ark is built on 800 acres. And we got it basically free. We only paid $6,154,000 for that land.
That's basically free.
That's basically free. That's almost free, you must admit.
Well, yes, Bill is being a touch hyperbolic, but basically free is in the eye of the beholder. If we go back to 2001, when this was all just a dream, the Grant County Industrial Development Authority and the Grant County Fiscal Court helped with land acquisition, providing 100 acres of the 800-acre site. At the time, the total amount of the sale had not been made public. And though I think I may have heard Ken use the $6 million figure before, it's on record here again. And tax assessment at the time indicated the property is eventually expected to be worth $150 million. So 100 acres were actually free. The remaining 700 acres were purchased for $6 million and change, and the land has an estimated worth of $150 million. I'm willing to accept Bill Nye's description of basically free.
It says, if you don't teach kids evolution, if you teach them creation, like these creationists, like the Ark and the Creation Museum,
like Isaac Newton.
He says they will not grow up
Bacon
with the
and
tradition
Faraday.
of innovation that has led to creation of search engines, smartphones, magnetic resonance imagers, and electric sports cars.
I love the fact that he used the MRI.
Yeah.
The MRI was actually invented by a creationist,
Yep,
Dr. Raymond Damadian.
Dr. Damadian's a creationist, and he invented the MRI.
Raymond Damadian is one of Answers in Genesis' go-to guys when it comes to holding up young Earth creationists as scientists, including at the famous Bill Nye Can-Ham debate.
Hi, my name is Dr. Raymond Damadian. I am a young Earth creation scientist and believe that God created the world in 6 24-hour days. I invented the MRI scanner in 1969.
I'm in no way trying to diminish the accomplishments of Dr. Damadian. I don't actually know a lot about his career or work outside of this creationist context. What I do know is that in 2003, 2 men were awarded the Nobel Prize for inventing the MRI, and neither one of them were named Raymond Damadian. The Nobel Prize is the biggest deal there is. They do their homework.
You know, you really don't need a forensics team to get to the bottom of this. If you guys were the inventors of Facebook, you'd have invented Facebook.
He says, we need to participate in causes where you can work with people united by purpose, not by ideology. And yet all he's doing in this book is pushing his ideology.
What is this insidious agenda?
We want to have clean water, reliable, renewably produced electricity, and access to the internet for everyone on Earth. Let's go. Let's go.
Whoa, stop pushing that on us, Bill. Actually, Ken may have a point. I haven't read Bill Nye's new book, but I found his Netflix series to be quite heavy-handed and preachy, even though I actually agree with a lot of Bill's positions. And it was a little light on science. I don't recommend, unfortunately.
Now, here's what's interesting. Recently, Bill Nye came out and said, the people who are the climate deniers, it's the older generation. We need them to die off, and they need to get out of the way. And it almost kind of sounds like in a euthanized way.
Climate change denial is almost universally age-related. It's almost only, due respect, old people who want to deny climate change. And so I think I'm pretty sure the climate change deniers see this as a race. They want to get as many stodgy climate deniers in political place as possible to keep the status quo going, and because they know that in the future, when millennials dominate the electoral college, all this stuff will get reversed. But people, we got to get to work. This should not be a political thing.
Yeah, did you notice how Bill called for euthanization of climate deniers? I must have missed it. Is that accusation more or less accurate than basically free land?
So now this one. Yeah, this is an interesting one.
Yeah, this came from
Good
Fox
girl,
News.
notice the word good? Good girl cheerleader charged with killing and burying a newborn. You know the sad thing though, Bodie, in a way? Well, notice they said, but she's a good girl.
Did you also notice that the article put good girl in quotation marks? In written English, that can be a signal that the subject the author is talking about gives one appearance, but is, in reality, the opposite. For example, one might alter the answer's news logo thusly.
So what does good mean?
Well, that's half the problem. We're in a culture now where being good is no longer defined based on the Bible. Instead, what they've done, they've thrown the Bible out. They've redefined good, and it's such a lower standard.
The article does quote the girl's lawyer. She didn't drink, she wasn't a partier or a smoker. Now, I'd have to agree with Bodie that that's a terrible standard for goodness. Some of the kindest, most ethical people I know throw parties, enjoy alcohol, and may even enjoy cigarettes. But they do generous things, defend those who need defense, help those who need help, and actively avoid any form of harm. But the churches I grew up in, smoking, drinking, and swearing, those were the worst. Avoiding those was absolutely the standard of goodness held up most highly. Forget any fruits of the Spirit. Good Christian boy that I was, I dutifully avoided them all. As an aside, anyone who takes seriously a character reference from someone's lawyer may need to re-engage their skepticism.
Unless there's an absolute authority who is all good, how do you define what's good?
That's right.
And you'll notice that with secularists, by the way. They'll use words like good and bad and right and wrong, and you just have to call them on. Where do you get that from? Who decides?
This is one reason that I avoid words like good and evil, right and wrong. In some people's minds, those words are nouns, absolutes. But from my experience, people tend to use these words more like hot and cold, as descriptors of a condition relative to an agreed-upon norm. As a comparator, they are not useful as absolutes. Let's take 24 degrees Celsius, or 75 degrees Fahrenheit. If your office was that temperature, many would say it's a little warm. If your coffee was that temperature, many would say it's cold and throw it out. If it's 0 degrees, 32 degrees American, in February, someone living in Florida will complain about the bitter cold. where prairie Canadians will come pouring out of their houses in shorts prepared to suntan because it's so warm out. Who decides right and wrong, good and bad? The people communicating with each other using those words. If these people communicating don't have an agreed upon comparison point, they won't have a meaningful discussion. Until someone comes up with a unit of measurement for morality, these relative terms are the best we have. Pretending they are fixed or absolutes doesn't help.
But that's the sad thing, is that they kill children in the womb, it's okay. You can kill them out of the womb, oh, that's wrong.
That was worded strangely. Like maybe you'd prefer that those who support abortion rights would also support infant killing beyond birth. After leaving Christianity, I had to take a hard look at a lot of my views to see what basis I had for them. Abortion being one of them. I won't do it justice, but I've come to realize that it's an issue regarding competing rights. The rights of the mother versus the rights of the fetus. As a male, I have to imagine scenarios where I'd be legally forced to use my own life or resources to keep someone else alive, no matter what the detriment to me. Supporting abortion is certainly not about a desire to kill. Obviously, the point of birth is the clear separator where the mother is no longer being forced in any biological way to sustain an infant. So the competing rights considerations are no longer in effect.
So this is one from Popular Science. One step closer to creating genetically modified humans in the lab. What they did was they actually had fertilized human eggs, and then they went in there and edited certain of the genes. But as they're doing these experiments, it's like in vitro fertilization. They've got these fertilized eggs, but they said they only let them develop to a few days or so, and then they got rid of them, which means they kill them.
You need to understand some history here. You know, a number of years back, they actually redefined the word conception, and I think a lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah,
conception used to be when the sperm and egg came together. Now that definition is fertilization. Now what they've done is they went in and they said, okay, well, conception is now redefined. The sperm and egg have to come together, and it has to move down and has to implant. So it's actually implantation. So now all of a sudden they're passing all these laws saying, well, you know, is it okay to do research before conception? And everybody votes, oh yeah, as long as it's before conception, they're okay with that, which means now they can fertilize an egg, grow a human in a lab, abort it, have the morning after pill, and things like that.
As great as it would be to add another male voice to this discussion about reproduction, Jade?
Definitions change. Rape means something very different today from what it meant when Alexander Pope wrote The Rape of the Lock in 1712. The claim here is that they changed the meaning of the word conceive, or conception, from sperm meeting egg to implantation in the uterus. I like to find out the sources of things, so I tracked this down. After several sources, I found this. The Human Life Bill hearings before the Subcommittee on Separation of Powers of the Committee on the Judiciary, United States Senate, 97th Congress, First Session, S-158, April 23rd, 24th, May 20, 21, June 1, yada 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 yada. Okay, the quote is, subsequently, in 1965, the Committee on Terminology of the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists adopted the definition, quote, conception is the implantation of a fertilized ovum, unquote. Now, if they did change the definition, I couldn't find where they originally said that, but it doesn't look like it's stuck. And, 1965 isn't a recent change. So the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists and the American Congress of Obstetricians and Gynecologists are two different organizations, but one focuses more on political things and the other on medical information, and they're both focused on women's health. Looking at their website, I found this link which says that under pregnancy, which is defined as a physiologic state of woman that follows implantation of a blastocyst, conception and pregnancy are not the same. Conception is a lay term that has no scientific validity and is not generally used in the medical literature because of its variable definition and connotation. So, I have no idea what they said in 1965. However, since conception is not a medical term, and this is a medical organization, I suspect they didn't change a damn thing. And even if they did, this is one organization. This isn't the medical community. This looks to me like people getting confused over terms. But hey, what good are the facts when you're trying to promote your position?
And really what they're talking about with all of this too is looking at people being able to have tests and deciding if they want to keep this baby or do gene editing or whatever in the future, which means it's no different to eugenics really.
Quick to throw out the term eugenics, because it's an easy way to villainize and quickly evokes imagery of genocide or sterilization or other atrocities. But it's too bad the word can't be calmly discussed in light of its original coining in 1883 as well-born. Fortunately, there's the phrase artificial selection that captures part of the concept. It was artificial selection that gave us every breed of dog, the huge chickens we eat, the modern banana, and most large-scale crops. Humans artificially steered populations of living things in intended directions, for better or worse. Now let's set aside any idea or notion that any human might have any kind of restrictions placed upon their reproduction, though I'm sure you can come up with endless Gattaca-like extrapolations or slippery slopes. As a parent, if I could have had the option to have a technician take my kid's first cell and edit it so that they would have straight teeth and eliminate their wisdom teeth, I definitely would have considered that. The cost of braces and dental bills are crazy. Or if one of my kids had carried genetic markers for a disease and that could have been edited, yeah, I'd have wanted that. The Bible doesn't address this editing. It just doesn't. I know the objection here is that Answers in Genesis feels the test cells should have had full rights as adult humans, though they're perhaps missing the fact that only 50% of fertilized eggs actually implant to initiate a pregnancy. With their definitions, is that murder of some sort? But I digress. I'd love to think that my grandchildren or great-grandchildren might be able to enjoy every genetic advantage available to them. Obviously, the availability and accessibility of such technology is bound to be key and controversial, but I've been talking about this way too long and have very elaborate thoughts. I'd better take it to the blog.
This next article is about aging. And they think if they can do enough research and figure all this out by replenishing these stem cells or the molecules they produce, it's possible to slow aging. So think about that.
Yeah, they want to slow aging.
Yeah.
Now, you know what? In a secular worldview, if nothing matters, why would you care?
Yeah, that's the point. Why even slow aging? You're going to die and that's the end of you. That's what Bill Nye says, when you die, you're done. So what does it matter?
Are you seriously this dense? I thought maybe you were mentioning this article for some kind of claim about fallen Earth and how humans used to live 800 years or something. But you are so fundamentally incapable of imagining other worldviews that you don't know why people who believe they have one life might want to make that one and only life last longer? It is the Christian who thinks that our life on earth is a filthy second-rate life that we endure to get to the glorious, perfect, eternal second life. If Christians truly believe, they would be anxious to die and get to the good life. Why would any Christian want to spend an extra minute here?
Someone's bringing up about the rainbow. If you're down the ark and you can stay right until closing time, it's getting darker later, earlier at night now, but we have the ark lit up as a rainbow at night time.
Is this the third episode in a row now? I'm tired of hearing Ken tell this story. If only for some variety, let me throw this to that guest Bodie and Georgia interviewed in the men's room last week. Todd Friel of Wretched Radio, and a new favorite self-torture channel for me.
Ken Ham finding himself in hot water this week by deciding, I think we should light up the ark at night. Let's use the colors of the rainbow. Oh, how dare he utilize our symbol, say the progressives. Well, how does that feel? You'll get used to it after a while. They are actually upset that we are taking the rainbow symbol and using it. Last time I checked, rainbow, God's idea, sign, seal of a covenant. Got to tell you, bold, really gutsy move. And he's taking a beating for it. I think it's brilliant.
Okay, I suppose I could have left all this out, but I like the excuse to share this Ken Ham Facebook post from a few days ago. Because of the phenomenal response to the Ark Encounter campaign, Take Back the Rainbow, we're producing biblical rainbow products centered around the Ark. Products. Does anyone doubt that the entire motivation for Answers in Genesis is money? They're not asking people to find existing rainbow items and reclaim them for God. Only an official Answers in Genesis rainbow will defeat the gay movement.
So we go for time. We've got about 3 minutes left.
3 more minutes here.
Yeah.
Humans came from galaxies far, far away, scientists say. And
that sounds. Isn't there a movie about Far, Far Away?
Yes.
Yeah.
Star Wars. That's how they usually open with their opening credits, right?
Isn't that a science fiction movie?
Yes.
Actually, Star Wars is more precisely in the genre of space fantasy, in that its universe isn't really an extrapolation of our current one, nor in any way particularly interested in science or social commentary. It's the Joseph Campbell hero journey against the backdrop of spacefaring aliens. Right, but this is the wrong channel for that discussion too. More for the blog.
So the general gist of it, I don't know if you've heard secularists out there that are reporting saying, oh yeah, we came from stardust. Lawrence Krauss is famous for saying that kind of stuff. He'll even try to crack that joke. Forget Jesus.
Nope. I'm not going to let you ruin Lawrence's joke with your backwater delivery, Bodie.
The amazing thing is that every atom in your body came from a star that exploded. And the atoms in your left hand probably came from a different star than your right hand. It really is the most poetic thing I know about physics. You are all stardust. You couldn't be here if stars hadn't exploded, because the elements, the carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, iron, all the things that matter for evolution weren't created at the beginning of time. They're created in the nuclear furnaces of stars, and the only way they can get into your body is if the stars were kind enough to explode. So forget Jesus. The stars died so that you could be here today. Okay? And anyway.
I do agree with one thing in this article. We came from dust.
You might be thinking to yourself, why couldn't God have brought together molecules from across the galaxy to form humans, as evidence suggests? Well, Genesis says man was made of dust. Presumably that dust was created with the earth on day 1. But the stars weren't created until day 4. Therefore, dust is not stardust. Checkmate, science.
They've got some brilliant folks, men and women who are dedicated, scientists, PhDs, not dummies.
Well, with that, we'll be back on Monday.
We'll be back on Monday at 2 o'clock. So this is Answers News signing off. God bless. All right.
Okay, Bodie and I, they have to get ready in here for the 3 o'clock session, but Bodie and I will be out there for
we'll be out here for a few minutes. Want to come say hi?
Oh no. They said they were going to have a post-show Q&A at the new set. I actually found someone on Twitter who was at this taping, and the Q&A didn't happen. Bummer. That was the main reason I wanted to go to the Creation Museum. That said, it's only a matter of time before the team says something deliciously stupid when they think the broadcast is done. Stay tuned.
At this time, we ask you to please gather all your belongings and or trash and exit to the doors over here on left.
The Legacy Hall where they filmed this is actually adjacent to one of the Creation Museum gift shops, so belongings and trash might be a difficult call. But that's more than enough for today, and probably more hot water than I intended. I'm tentatively looking forward to seeing your comments letting me know what you think about these topics. If you'd like to be notified when new Paulogia videos arrive, click or tap the subscribe button. And find me on Twitter or Facebook at Paulogia0 for my random thoughts between videos. Until next time, later.